What's up, you guys? In this video, I'm going to talk about why inflation is actually a good thing if you're a real estate investor and how it can help you make a lot of money. I'm sure you guys have heard that the buying power of the dollar has been steadily declining. I'm sure you've seen charts like this saying a dollar in 1913 is actually now only worth 5 cents. Or this image showing that you can buy an entire cart of groceries in 1998 with $20, but now $20 barely buys you enough food for one day. Inflation is always portrayed as this horrible thing that's robbing you as you sleep. And for the most part, this is true. Inflation actually decreases the value of your money. The government tries to keep inflation at about 2%, so that means a dollar today is only worth 98 cents next year. And 98 cents next year is only worth 96 cents the year after that. If you had $10 50 years ago, you could probably sit down and have a steak dinner. But $10 today gets you a Big Mac at McDonald's. $10 will always be $10, but the value of that $10, what that $10 is actually worth, changes drastically over time. So you must be thinking to yourself, wow, inflation, this is such a horrible thing. It's basically cutting your money in half every 30 years. How are you saying that it's actually good? Now hold on for a second. Before I tell you how inflation is going to help you make a lot of money in real estate, you need to first understand how inflation works and why inflation happens. Think about it like you're playing chess. Can you win if you don't know the rules or you don't know what the pieces do? Probably not, right? So let's learn the rules. So what causes inflation? The first way is probably something that everyone is familiar with. The government just printing money. The reason the government wants to print more money is to simulate the economy. The idea is if people have more money, they're able to spend more money. If they're able to spend more money, then production increases. If production increases, then people have more work. And if people have more work, they have more money. And if they have more money, then they can spend it. And the cycle continues on and on. That sounds great, right? But in the long run, it actually just increases the price of everything. The second form of inflation is called push cost inflation. Push cost inflation happens when the cost of doing business increases. So let's say if there's a shortage of materials or if labor becomes too expensive, this will cause push cost inflation. Think about it. If the cost of oil goes up, then the cost of anything that uses oil for production goes up. If the price of wages go up, then the business owner has to increase the prices of their products to stay open. This decreases your buying power. The third form of inflation is called demand inflation. Demand inflation happens when everyone wants the same thing, but there's not enough supply for it, so it just constantly pushes the price up. You see this a lot in, guess what? Real estate. Now let's look at this chart again, but let's say you borrowed a dollar in 1913. Well, if you're paying back the same dollar in 2020, then the dollar that you took out in 1913 was worth a dollar back then. But the dollar that you're giving back is only worth 5 cents back then. That's pretty confusing, right? But just think about what you can buy for a dollar today and what you could have bought for a dollar back then. So how does this relate to real estate? Well, the first thing is your mortgage. So let's look at this image again and pretend these groceries are your debt. You took out this much money in 1998 and you bought real estate with it. Now, today, your debt is only worth this much less. Does that make sense? You're borrowing money today. Say you borrow $100,000 today. Well, that $100,000 can buy you $100,000 worth of stuff, right? But as time goes by, when you're paying back your loan with less valuable dollars. If you paid back that full $100,000 next year, then that 2021 $100,000 is only worth $98,000 today. And if you pay it back in 2 years, then that $100,000 from 2022 is only worth $96,000 today, because money becomes less valuable as time goes by due to inflation. Now, obviously, this would never happen in real life because you wouldn't take out a 30-year mortgage and pay it back in 1 or 2 years. This was just an oversimplified example just to show you the concept that inflation makes your money less valuable. So if you can pay it back at a later date, you're paying it back with less valuable dollars. So you want to see it like this. Inflation is basically your best friend who is going to help you pay 2% of your loan every single year. Now, I'm not telling you to go out to take a loan and buy a new boat or a new car or something, because the interest rate is higher than 2%. So inflation will basically only help you cover 2%. But if you're using that money right away to buy real estate that helps you generate income, then inflation basically helps you pay back your loan with less valuable dollars in the future. So inflation is really good for people with long-term loans. Now let's look at it from the other end. When the government prints money, the way that it injects it into the economy is by buying bonds from banks. And then the bank takes that money and lends it to consumers. So because banks make money when they issue loans, they're going to want to issue as many loans as they can. So that means they're going to have better terms and lower rates. So what happens when you have better terms and lower rates? People can afford to buy more real estate. When people can buy more real estate, demand increases. When demand increases, price also increases. If your mortgage rate is 3% compared to 5%, you're making a much lower monthly payment. That way you can afford to spend more money. If you buy a property for $300,000 and the interest rate is 5%, your monthly payment comes out to about $1,200. But if your interest rate is only 3%, then you can afford a house that's $360,000, because at 3%, the monthly payment is also $1,200. Another effect of the government printing money is now that people have more jobs and they make more money. If people make more money, then they think about buying their own homes. If more people want to buy homes, then that drives up the demand. So what happens when the demand goes up, but the supply stays the same? Prices go up. So what inflation does is drive up the price of real estate and drive down the value of your debt. So what you own is worth more money and what you owe is worth less. And since there's always inflation, that's why real estate investing is so powerful. If you can get a 30-year fixed rate loan, it's much better than getting a 15-year loan. So I hope I was able to explain that clearly. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments down below. And if you found this information useful, please hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos about real estate investing, please hit the subscribe button. All right, thanks a lot, guys.